The power of manual copywriting in the era of AI. It's very important topic, especially today when AI is a regular tool for anyone. I don't know any writers who can ignore this tool. I cooperate with many great writers who can post on Forbes, Investopedia, many other great websites, and all of them use AI. We can't deny this tool exists, but we need to use it smart. That's why I'm so excited to discuss this topic with Robert Carnes. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to dive into this topic. It's obviously very important and, like you said, something that everybody's talking about these days.
Yeah, a big pleasure to learn more about that. And Robert, before we start, just remind about yourself, experience, background, your business, and why you pay attention to copywriting when we have AI that can write anything for a few seconds.
Yes. So I'm the marketing manager at a digital agency just outside of Atlanta called Green Melon. We specialize in all things digital marketing for our clients, including copywriting, building websites, content marketing, blogging, email, all of which involves writing to some degree. And I touch a lot of that as the marketing manager. I do a lot of our copywriting. I do a lot of our strategy work for our clients, oversee all the blogging efforts with some freelance copywriters. I myself am also a freelance copywriter outside of the agency. I've published a few books. So writing is very much a part of what I do in my professional life, but also something I enjoy personally. I've done it for many years. And obviously, yes, as the AI tools have started to come out, it's been something we've talked a lot about internally. How do we use them, but use them wisely and also have the human component of writing and still keeping that level of quality high for our clients and for their customers.
Nice, nice. Love it, love it. It's interesting. We recorded our podcast before ChatGPT, but I launched our episode in November
Mm-hmm.
30, the day when ChatGPT was launched as well. So, yeah, today we can discuss more about this tool. It's important to know about this tool because, as I mentioned, that people overuse AI and it doesn't help to create valuable content, and we need to find the way how to use it smart. Uh, Robert, can you tell how to do it, how to create the right prompts, because everything starts from these prompts. And I remember Elon Musk shared on Twitter how he asked ChatGPT a hard question. I read this question a few times to understand what Elon Musk wanna know, and ChatGPT gave this unique answer. Well explained answer. It's interesting because Elon Musk did it before started to criticize ChatGPT and signed this letter to procrastinate the process. Then, after a few days, he bought expensive equipment on Twitter to develop AI. So, yeah, he loves to change his mind. But anyway, can you tell how to create the right prompts today?
Yeah, I mean that's the big question because AI is still just a tool, and there still has to be people to input ideas and thoughts and to generate to a starting point for AI to create. I mean, some pretty interesting and remarkable. It is surprising the concepts and the ideas and the output it's able to give us. But you're right, like there has to be a good prompt to start from, and I think we're all still figuring that out. We're all still wondering what the right way is, what the right art form is. So I mean, just like with writing or marketing in general, you've got to practice. You've got to start using this tool and figuring out what things it responds to. I remember, late last year, like you said, November, December, when ChatGPT really launched and became publicly available. We started playing around with it, and you could do so much more. They put some restrictions on it since, so it's changing. Right now as we speak, as to how it's responding to us. It's getting smarter. It's getting better. So you have to kind of learn and evolve along with it and learn what kind of prompts work well, what kind of prompts are going to be blocked, how to get good content. Usually you're not going to get exactly what you're looking for with the first prompt. You have to, give it a few times and tell it to adjust and say, hey, can you say that exact thing, but use this kind of tone, or can you take this part and rewrite the second paragraph? So that's the key, is that this is, again, a tool that us as marketers and writers and copywriters can certainly use, but there needs to be that human component, that person who's thinking and asking it to do a couple different things. So yeah, practice, and then repetition. Can I keep harnessing it and keep giving it different prompts to try to make it better and better over time is really what's going to be the key to fully leveraging it for good use.
Nice. I wanna ask you about creativity. Let me share a story, but it's not related to writing, but the story relates to creativity. Uh, uh, re, I- I forget the name of this author. Yeah, Robert Richards, or okay. Anyway, the
Yeah.
author published a book 11 years ago. He spent 14 years to write a single book. 14 years.
Yeah.
Then he published this book uh, and used some marketing, sales methods, but he couldn't sell this book. Then his daughter posted content on TikTok uh, from account with 0 followers. This video became viral, and today this book is bestseller on Amazon. So, single video beats all marketing sales methods. uh, I think this book is great as well because people don't buy bad books. But anyway, he couldn't promote this book, and only one video provide all this job. And of course, I watched this video. Of course, I'm curious how to film this video, to get 50 million views. And that was not nice looking design, just simple design, but that was authentic, transparent. And this video provokes curiosity. What kind of book is this? What kind of value can I get by reading this book? And I think this video was creative. AI is not creative because AI is the best rewriting tool ever. Rewriting. And can you tell how to stay creative by writing text and using AI?
That is a great question, and I think you've hit on the key point that that's the difference between me and you and ChatGPT and Bard and all those other tools is our humanity allows us to be creative. It's been surprising, again, if you tell ChatGPT to write a poem, it can come up with the poem, right? It can say something that we only thought that humans were capable of for up until like this year. So it can do something, but you're right, it's very by the book. It's very patterned. It's all it is predicting what the words need to be, right? So it is robotic, and it kind of feels that way right now in the way that it writes things. Now I think it probably will get better as it learns a little bit more. It kind of can figure it out, but it's coming at creativity from a very cold and analytical and it's just an algorithm, so it can't quite figure out what creativity really is. So now, how to be creative, I don't know. I can't exactly explain it because it's just part of being a person, right? Thanks for sharing this story. This is an awesome thing. And it shows that how to really capture a human's attention, because we're people. We have to think about what sparks our imagination, what sparks our curiosity, and then we go to that. And an AI algorithm can do a lot of amazing things. It can go to scale very, very quickly and accomplish things with the snap of a finger. But you can't quite replicate that kind of the ideas that a human can come up with. That's why, again, prompts are so important, is because a human's got to be the one that kind of started. And I think AI is going to be capable of amazing things, like we've both talked about. We need to be aware of it, but I think there's always going to be that level of human component, especially when it comes to doing these creative things, and taking it really to the finish line of making it available and ready for humans to actually enjoy. Just because, otherwise it's just going to feel very cold and stale and robotic. So I don't know if I answered your question. It's a hard question to answer of how to be creative, but people just, at least right now, very much have that edge over these AI tools.
Nice. Yeah. The name of author for listeners, Lloyd Richards, and the book called Stone Maidens. So you can find this book on Amazon. Interesting story. And I want to ask you how to find the balance between consistency and frequency. I see when people confuse the meaning or misunderstand the meaning of frequency and consistency. They think if consistency, that means you need to be frequent by posting content, but today quality is key. And tell your methods how to do it, because for example, I learned about book offers, many great book offers, and they usually write a lot, like for example, Stephen King writes 2,000 words a day, every single day, without any excuses, without waiting, inspiration, admiration, anything. He does his job. That's why everyone knows him. Can you tell your methods how to be consistent, and what means for you frequency?
Yeah. I mean, he's a great example because he is a human who is very creative and who also uses hard work to just have an incredible output. And I mean, both of the number of books he's published, but also just how wonderful they are. I'm a fan of his books. And yeah, I mean, great writers have that in common, is they work incredibly hard. And yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good question to figure out how to balance those two things of still writing, even though you don't feel inspired, writing, even though you don't have any necessarily new ideas. You can create new great content and ideas through the practice of just writing. I don't know if I've quite figured out how that has adjusted in AI yet. I haven't changed my methods I'm still pretty much, writing mostly 100% human generated content. I will then take it to some of the AI tools and see what it thinks, and hey, how would it rewrite this paragraph, or what are some ideas for this tagline or this headline or something like that. So I'm still experimenting and trying new things using AI. But I'm still trying to keep things slow. A lot of people are very excited about AI because it means they can blow up. They can write so much more. They can churn out 10 new blog posts a day. But to your point, who's going to read those if the quality isn't great? And so I think we still need to intentionally sometimes slow ourselves down, use AI as a great tool to increase the quality and to help us maybe come up with ideas when we're feeling a little stuck, or we've got a little writer's block. This might be a little bit boost to take us to the next level. But I think we still need to intentionally slow ourselves down and not just go crazy with that frequency because we feel like we've got this tool that can scale very, very quickly. So yeah, going slower sometimes on purpose, but still having a good level of consistent output of again, human content, because that's what people are still interested in right now. And there's a lot of people who are skeptical about all the stuff that's being written by AI, and for good reason.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell your methods how to fight with these blocks? I think I have them as well. When I don't use pen, but if I'm going to type anything, sometimes for me it's hard to find ideas. So can you tell your methods how to overcome it?
How to come up with ideas for new content?
If you have blogs, you have no inspiration, you don't know what to write, but you need to do it. So if you have any methods how to go ahead.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, like what we've used beyond, before AI came onto the scene was like talk to our customers. What kind of questions are they asking? Like what kind of things are people wondering about? I mean, sometimes there's duplicate content out there, but we can have our own spin on it. So, I mean, it's fortunately or unfortunately, it's usually not been difficult for me to come up with new ideas. Like I usually don't have enough time to write all of the different things that I want to write, because I'm just coming up with different ideas as I, have a conversation with people. I'll come away with 3 or 4 different, blog or article ideas, or some, an idea for an ebook or a lead generator. It's come a little bit more naturally for me, just because I'm curious about those things. I want to learn about those things. And as I figure something out, I'll typically, the way I kind of process it is writing a blog post and saying, hey, here's the things that I did to go learn about AI. I did these things, and here's my research, and here's my stuff, and let me share it with you, publicly on this blog, so that I can have, something to share with somebody. I'm creating resources publicly as I go. So that's usually been one of my methods for coming up with new avenues for content, is just what am I curious about? What are the things that I want to share with the audience that I have? What things are they wondering that I can help them out with? I think usually once you dive into that and just keep unpacking that, it's usually a pretty endless source of different ideas for content.
I'm interested about research. Can you tell how you research ideas? I mean, like, for example, because I see different approaches from copywriters and journalists, because journalists usually pay attention to deep research, to analyze before writing, because their results depend on how many people will read the article. But copywriters usually spend less time by researching and just create content, in most cases rewriting. So can you tell your methods how to get collect data before writing, and how to stand out from the rest in the end?
Right. My background is in journalism. I went to journalism school and wrote for a couple newspapers. So yeah, I would love to really dive into everything and to do deep research, to do interviews with people and understand who the experts are. But you're right, when it comes to copywriting, you have to scale a little bit more. You've got to write a little bit more. So you have to kind of come a little bit shallower with it. I still like to try to do as much research as I can, especially when I'm doing like a more technical article or a longer form blog post, something like that. But typically, I mean, it usually starts with just an online search of what articles have already been written about this subject. Maybe not exactly the angle I'm trying to take, but what else is out there on this particular subject. And most subjects are broad enough, or most subjects are popular enough that there's something out there, right? The internet is very broad, and I mean, using Google searches and search engines is kind of like using AI. You have to figure out what things do I need to search for to get what I'm looking for. And so, spending a little time in Google or in a resource generator like that, and finding what else is out there so that you can learn from, again, the other sources, other experts. It also depends on your own level of expertise. Like, I obviously can write a lot better about things like copywriting and technology and marketing because I have a lot of experience. And I know what sources to look for. But it is also a skill of a copywriter to take on a subject that nothing about, right? We have lots of clients that are in industries that I don't work in, so I have to figure out what sources to go to and who are the experts out there, and really take some time researching those things. AI can kind of be a source for that. Like, you can ask it, what are the articles out there that I should read? But there's occasionally times that they will make things up. It will hallucinate articles and resources that don't really exist. So that's one of the reasons you have to be careful.
Yeah, agree. I opened your LinkedIn profile because I love opening LinkedIn profiles, and I like your message. No more boring marketing. Attract attention with stories. I think if your marketing is boring, it's useless. You can't get results because customers have a lot of marketing messages, and they can divide boring from non-boring. And for me, it's the same like to watch movies with similar plots that you watched before. So you're not interested to get the same movie in most cases the end. It's no surprise there. So can you tell about how to create non-boring content, because bounce rate is high in website content, on YouTube, on TikTok, everywhere. Most content are boring. So your methods how to stand out from the rest to create non-boring content.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think this ties into the topic we're talking about in AI, because AI is going to be able to generate a huge volume of content, but most of it's going to be kind of boring, right? It's just kind of templated, cookie cutter. It's predictable. It may be in the short term okay for SEO because you can tell it to rank for a certain keyword, and it'll know how to do that and be able to kind of fool the search engine algorithms. But you're right, people aren't going to sit there and actually read it. They're going to look at it, they're going to find the information they're looking for, and they're going to bounce off and move on and not really read the content you're putting out. So, I mean, sure, you can create a lot of content, a lot of blog posts, a lot of things using artificial intelligence, but is it going to be really worth people's time? They're going to bounce away really, really quickly. And so, as you mentioned, on my LinkedIn profile, I talk a lot about stories and storytelling. That's one of the things we talked about the last conversation that we had. So I think that's the biggest other thing, is using the creativity that only people right now can really harness and tell stories about people. Use a narrative, use example. I mean, you told a great story about a man who wrote a book and had his daughter, share it on TikTok, and it kind of took off, right? There was a narrative involved, something happened, there were people involved in it. And so anytime you can do that, include characters as an example of what the point you're trying to make, maybe leave people a little uncertain if they haven't heard this story before, then they're intrigued. They're curious as to what's going to happen. So they're going to keep following you down the page because they don't know what's going on. They want to kind of close that story loop that you've opened. So Storytelling is just one, I think, way to kind of be creative and hold people's attention, but it's the one that I talk a lot about, and for right now is kind of exclusive to us people of thinking of what the right story is for each different situation we have, and the right story for the right piece of content that you have.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I remember stories. I love stories from Apple when on all their presentation. That's why I buy all their stuff. iPhone, Apple Watch, AirPod. Because of the stories. I didn't know
Sure.
about the features. I'm not geek. Who can learn a lot about that. But I trust the brand,
Yeah.
and I remember when Steve Jobs shared story about the first iPod, and he didn't share that you can get 10 gigabyte memories in your pocket. He shared that you can have 1,000 songs in your pocket. Yeah. So that was exciting. Can you tell how to create the feeling of owning something? I love watching different advertisement marketing messages when happy people use something, and I get this feeling, okay, I can be happy as well. I can take this product, I can decide my problems, simplify my life, improve everything that I have. So can you tell about creating this feeling?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on. It's about emotions, right? It's about how you're
Yeah.
making people feel. It's not about the facts of your product. It's not about the features. I mean, like, that's a component, and people will probably look at that before they purchase. But to really grab them from the beginning, yeah, you've got to make them feel a certain way. So how do you want to make them feel? Understanding that emotion first, and going, hey, happiness is really going to sell our products, or maybe fear of what if they don't buy this product? They're worried about what's going to happen. I mean, insurance is kind of like that, right? Like, if you don't have homeowners insurance, something bad might happen. So there's a little bit of like fear or anxiety there, and you can very easily be manipulative with that. So it's one of the reasons why stories can go bad, because people can kind of manipulate people in their marketing. So hopefully you have good intentions in it, but understanding what emotion is going to drive people, and then talking to people and figuring out, again, why did you buy our product? How did it make you feel? And then just, yeah, that connection with your audience, and understanding just from a basic standpoint of how they're already feeling, and just elevate that and showcasing that and saying, hey, this is what we're trying to get you to. I mean, I feel like when you start thinking about that and looking at advertising, you get a sense of what they're going for. You get a sense of what story they're trying to tell, what emotion they're trying to evoke from you. So you start to notice it a lot more times when you're aware of it. But yeah, you have to do the same thing as you're creating content or ads or marketing campaigns, just understanding what emotion is going to go in there. And then maybe, again, if you're going to use a story, picking the story that's going to elicit that emotion in your audience.
It's interesting. Search engines, Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo, all of them, Baidu, they have different approach to retaining users compared to social media. For example, in social media, the main goal is to retain as much as possible, as maximum as possible. Because, for example, if people spend more time on social media can get more money, by advertisement. But on Google, another goal, users need to leave Google with a relevant link as quick as possible. So if they can find the relevant link in 10 seconds, then Google provides a good job, with that. Can you tell about retaining users? It's very important. For example, when users open your social media post, website content. I remember this great book from Joe Sugarman. He wrote this book about marketing 40 years ago, about retaining readers. I can relate all these points, skills to digital. I think he can write this book about digital without changing any words, because he told how to retain readers to read until the end. And I see when people bounce fast, they open, they can't get attention, they bounce, forget about this content, you can't sell. But if you retain them longer, the chance that social media will rank or recommend more often will be higher. So any tips about retaining audience?
Yeah, I think you did a really cool job of comparing, again, social platforms like Facebook that really does try to kind of keep you in. They have the infinite
Yeah,
scroll, so you just keep going, versus like search engines, which really their whole idea is not even retaining people, but yeah, pushing them out to a different site, but the right site, right? So I think it's about two things really in my mind. It's about value, like what are you giving people? How good of a service or a resource are you providing people? And then the other thing is trust, because again, with Google or DuckDuckGo, I'm gonna use them for a second and find what I'm looking for, and then move on with my day. But I'm gonna come back to them again and again and again if I trust that they have
yeah,
my best interest. If I trust that, I mean, things like privacy is taken care of, but also again, are they providing what I was looking for and doing it quicker? So in Google's mind, yeah, maybe I may spend 10 seconds on their on the actual search result page finding what I was looking for, but that's probably a good thing from their standpoint because they want me to find it quickly and move on, not get frustrated and spend 2 minutes looking through a search result. So yeah, I mean that's where some of the social media companies are starting to get into trouble, because they're trying to box people in. They're not giving people freedom to find the right links. They're suppressing a lot of that kind of stuff that might take people off, which results in high engagement, but a lowering level of trust. So you really need to have that level of, again, providing great value for people and retaining the trust of having a good relationship, that you have their best interest in mind.
It's interesting. I removed TikTok a few days ago because TikTok, I don't know how, but TikTok can read my mind and share only content that I love. When I spend 2 hours on TikTok, I got it. No way. I need to do something with that. I try to fight, but then if I go to restroom, I usually take my smartphone because it's boring to spend time in the restroom without smartphone. But after 10-15 minutes, I keep watching these videos. I keep watching 2 hours and got it. I need to do something with that. That's why I removed TikTok. I don't know another way how
Yeah.
to tell TikTok, please don't show videos that I love. Please don't engage me as you can. I don't have such issue on LinkedIn, on Facebook, only on TikTok. And TikTok provides a good job with that, to share relevant content.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robert, I want to ask you about simplicity. Can you tell how to simplify experience and write less but quality? For example, if I open Apple, I see big difference. Very simple text, a few words, nothing special, but I often open some landing pages with a lot of text. I don't know what to click, where to go, what kind of information to get. So, can you tell how to cut less necessary information and leave only important for customers information?
Yes. Well, understanding that simplicity is important is the first step. Not trying to bloat your content just bigger and longer, but really, like you're saying, trying to cut down. Like maybe the first draft of a blog post or a website that you're writing is a little bit longer because you just had to get your idea out of your head. But don't go with just that. Don't go with the first draft. Spend some time reading through, cutting down, editing. Editing is a different process from just writing. They're very related and they go together, but you have to write first and then take a step back and then go back to it a day or so later and edit it and cut down, and hey, this sentence doesn't need to be there. I can take out these words, or this idea, this is confusing. So take the time to actually edit things so that they are simpler and so that they are clearer for your audience, not just for you. If you can say the same thing with fewer words, then say it with fewer words. If you can remove a word from your sentence and it still has the same meaning, then that's usually a good thing. Remove that word, right? Because otherwise you're just making people look longer and you're giving another opportunity for them to get tripped up. And this may be one of the areas where AI can be extremely helpful. Like I use Grammarly quite a bit. They have a really good, strong AI that makes suggestions on the clarity of sentences, the complexity of sentences. They'd say, hey, you wrote this sentence that's 50 words. Well, hey, you could say something similar in 30 words. So do you want us to rewrite it for you? And usually I say yes, because what they suggested was actually clearer. So I came up with the first idea. I got us 50% of the way there, and it got us the rest of the way there. So that is, again, that editing and suggesting capability of AI may be one of the ways where it's really, really useful, because it can help us get to simplicity.
Nice. And Robert, my next question about mistakes. I asked this question before, but we have new listeners and everyone makes mistakes. Probably I make a lot more mistakes than many of my listeners. I
Yeah.
keep doing them. For me, it's hard to avoid all these mistakes, but it's a good experience when you learn from your mistakes. You know what you can do the next time. So anyway, list mistakes that writers still do and your tips how to avoid them.
That's a great question. You're talking about like making mistakes even just in writing, like you go back and you notice that something was overly complex or something could have been said better. The good and the bad is that the entire internet is constantly living, and you can go back to that blog post, maybe that you published last year or before, and you can clean it up, you can refresh it, you can kind of breathe new life into it and make it better.
Update.
So, that's kind of a scary thing, because it means that everything is always kind of in flux, and you can always go back and update it, but that gives you the opportunity to sometimes correct those mistakes. I think just the mistakes of like writing practices in general is not practicing enough of thinking that the first time is good enough, and you just crank out a blog post and you hit publish. Some people do that intentionally. Some people who write every single day and publish every single day, they're okay with some of the mistakes because they're in the habit of just writing every single day. And they just have to live with some of the mistakes that they make. But you just have to kind of learn to what threshold of a mistake is okay. Because like you said, you're going to fail. Is it okay if, some little things happen? That's fine. But sometimes the bigger things you need to learn how to address and how to fix it. And you learn that through practice too, right? If you made a mistake with a marketing campaign, or you wrote an article and it just was completely misguided, then okay, well, I can fix that. But then also I can get ahead of that and do better the next time. So it's a constant practice. It's a constant learning experience. And the more you do it, the more opportunities you have to get better and to refine your process. So I guess a mistake would be not realizing that failure is okay and that you can learn from it.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to create a great piece of content from the first attempt, from the second, probably,
Sure.
I don't know, 100 pieces content can be great. It takes time, to craft your skills to go ahead. And I tried to read a few articles that I wrote many years ago and I got it. Today I have different approach. Just better.
That's a brave thing to go back and look at what you did that long ago, because you usually like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? But that shows the progress, right? You've gotten better since then because there's been that much time and that much practice that's happened. So you can congratulate yourself that, hey, I'm better than I was back then.
Yeah, nice. Robert, let's talk about your experience. If you started today from scratch without any experience, knowledge, skills, what will you do today to improve or craft your writing skills?
That's another challenging one, because part of it is putting in those reps, is putting in all the hours of things that you've done. So I don't know if there's a ton I would change. Again, like you, when I go back and read some of the things that I wrote years ago, it's not as good as what I know I'm able to do now. And I know that 10 years from now, it's going to be even better than where I am now. So, I don't know if there's really anything that I would change, because it's just like building those skills just takes time. I don't think there's any shortcuts to automatically doing it better. When it comes to writing, particularly just reading a lot, which is something that I've always done. That's one of the reasons I'm interested in writing, is because I've seen so much of what other people have put out. So just continuing to read a whole lot is really, really valuable. I think maybe one of the things that I might change, that, if I were to start over again, is just to be braver about publishing sooner. Sometimes, like a lot of times you get caught in the paralyzation because you want to be perfect. I can't let this thing go because this book or this article or whatever, it just has to be perfect before I'm able to let it go. And sometimes you have to know where that line is of when it's good enough and be able to move on. So sometimes I held on to things a lot longer than I probably should have, because I wasn't, courageous enough to kind of let it go and to let it live in the public. And knowing that, hey, maybe it's not going to go viral, or it's not going to be the biggest thing ever. A few people read it and move on, but at least I've kind of gotten it out of my system, and I've put that practice out there. So yeah, I mean, kind of accidentally, I feel like I've built up a good kind of writing habit that way, but it can always be better. And I just keep hacking away at it. I'm sure I will learn something from the mistakes that I make today and this year that I'll put into practice next year and next decade. So yeah, it's a constant practice. That's the main thing I keep coming back to, is you just kind of keep working at it.
Nice. Valuable. I want to ask you about vanity metrics. For example, once I spoke with webmaster who lost 400,000 traffic because Google dropped his ranking positions, but he didn't lose any sales. So he got a lot of traffic. He lost this traffic, but sales are the same. So nothing happened. And I see when webmasters chase high volume, they check out to get a lot of likes, comments on social media, a lot of traffic. But if this traffic didn't bring sales, it's useless. So can you tell how to submit your call to action in the right way? I mean, because if you add just take my services or buy my products without having logical chain with your context, it doesn't help a lot. So people can divide it. Tell your methods how to submit call to action to sell products.
Yeah, that's another great story, that somebody who owned a website had the traffic drop way down, but the sales didn't change at all, which basically means all of those people who weren't coming to a site were just the wrong people. They weren't the ones to buy it, right? So that's an okay thing, because now it means, hey, all the people who are coming to a site are the right ones, the right people who are relevant to his business. So I think that's a huge piece too, is understanding what's your audience, how can you focus on them. And I mean, you want to scale that, you want to scale getting the right people, but don't just pad your stats just to make yourself feel better. Like you would rather have the right 100 people come to your website than the wrong 100,000 or whatever it is. But going back to call to action, to convert people right in the right way, and because you could even have the right people come to your website, but if it's confusing and they don't know what to do, then they're still not going to buy from you, right? So I mean, I think a big piece of it is A/B testing, experimenting, figuring out what they're going to respond to, because you can guess and you can have a good idea, and you can, I think, know your audience fairly well to get at least close. But then, testing out and saying, hey, does learn more work, or does buy now work better? I mean, you can guess as to which one might be better, and have a hypothesis. It's the scientific method, right? And you run a little experiment for a month and say, okay, we put these two different call to actions. We did two different A/B tests on two landing pages, or whatever that looks like. But then go back and look at the data and see what it says, and see how many people bought from which one. That's the biggest thing, is testing in real life. You can't argue with those results. Again, I think you can do research and you can have a good gut reaction as to what you think is going to work, but until you actually put it into practice and have the results and the evidence, that's what's really going to help you get better and tweak. Maybe it's the call to action, or maybe it's the color of the button, or the size of the button, or the location of the button. Like, there's all sorts of different variables that you can test over time to continue to, that's what conversion rate optimization is, right? Just slowly making it a little bit better and a little bit more effective, and testing it out a little bit more with people. So that's a long-term, never-ending experiment, but it's one you kind of always constantly need to be focused on and tweaking in the right ways.
Yeah, love it. Focusing is very important. Without focusing, when you have a lot of distractions or huge content plan, I see when people have content plan with plus 100 topics, I don't know how to write 2 articles a week because I have no time. It's hard.
Sure.
It's really hard. It's not only to write, it's more to research, to find data, to combine, to edit, to create some design. It takes time, to create quality content. Don't try to touch all topics in your niche. Find priorities, choose priorities, and stick with that. And Robert, my final question about the future.
Yes.
We have AI, and it's interesting to know your opinion about future, because I learned a lot of opinions that AI will not replace human beings, but in the end, AI can replace lazy writers can even today, I think AI can do it. People who don't care about research, who just rewrite, AI did this job. But it's only beginning of this journey. It's
Yeah.
only the start of this evolution. So your tips, what kind of future will be with AI and how to adapt today to this possible future?
Oh man, yeah, it's all just guessing, right? We all have our opinions on where we think it's going, but who knows? I mean, I think it's certainly going to have an impact. I mean, it's certainly going to be a big piece of a lot of our jobs, but I don't know if it's, I mean, like you said, I don't think it's going to replace everybody. There's still going to be people who have jobs. There are still going to be writers who are putting out content who are using AI as a tool. But you're right, it's going to take those lazy writers, the people who are putting in, minimal effort. It's going to push them off because it's able to do what they do that much better. But if you're somebody who brings a lot of quality, you know, you're relatively safe. You might have to adjust how you work and what you do and incorporate AI into your practice. But just because we replaced a hammer with a nail gun doesn't mean we replaced the construction worker. It just made the construction worker better at his job, right? So the construction workers who use that tool better than a hammer or better than I don't know, trying to figure out how to put in a nail by themselves, they were useless because the people who were able to use the tools of the day got so much better ahead, and they were able to be that much more creative because they figured out how to use this tool. And so that's the biggest thing, is just figuring this out, watching how the trends go. I think AI is, again, the hot thing right now. It's what everybody's talking about. I think a year or two from now, it will have gotten better, but I think we're going to be talking about it less just because we're going to be that much more adjusted to it, right? The pandemic was the big thing everybody was talking about for a while, and then we just kind of got used to it, and now it's kind of gone, thankfully. But it's I just don't think we're going to be able to focus on it this hyperly for the long term. But it's just going to become part of our daily lives, and it's going to just we're going to get used to it and use it how we think it's going to be. But who knows? It could be completely opposite from that. It could take over and run the government, and that's part of the point, is we don't really know, and that's what's got some people skeptical, which is understandable. So just, I don't know. We just all have to watch and see and keep learning in the meantime.
Yeah. We have no crystal ball. If I have crystal ball, the first thing what I can do to buy lottery ticket, and don't care about AI, about anything, So yeah, because when I try to predict stock price, crypto price, I often fail, and I got it. It's hard to predict the future. So yeah, just to be better every single day, to adopt technologies faster than your competitors.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter, you will create content in virtual reality, for SEO. If you have experience to create content, you can do it everywhere, because marketers on TV and radio didn't lose their jobs. They adapted to digital. Yeah,
Mhm.
you can adapt to any other environment, and you can do it much better with experience. If you have experience to create content for SEO, for social media, to write books, you can use this experience to adapt to new format, new environment.
And the thing that we can do that AI will never be able to do is have trust in one another and connections.
Yeah.
And like anytime you go to an event in person and you're talking with people, that's something that artificial intelligence will never be able to do. And so there may be a trend more towards that, and more towards, again, like this, just talking to another person. Like, this is the kind of content that will continue to live on, because it's hard to replicate this and hard to replicate trust in one another. So hopefully we're going to continue to double down on that.
Yeah, I think humans will not invite Terminators to their conferences, Yeah, so yeah, we'll see. Robert, it's a big pleasure to get on my show, to learn from you. You're so kind to share all these valuable insights. I love it, so valuable. Tell our audience the best way how to keep learning from you, how to reach out to you, how to follow you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, my personal website, robertcarnes.org, you can find links to social media and all the things, including links to my books. Storycyclebook.com is the landing page where you can learn about my most recent book, that's all about storytelling in marketing in your business. Came out before artificial intelligence, so you know that I wrote it all myself. But yeah, I mean, those are the biggest places to check me out. You can check me out on LinkedIn or Twitter, any of those social channels. But yeah, would love to connect, and thank you so much for having me on the show to share some of my guesses and predictions about artificial intelligence.
Nice. So you didn't use AI to write your book, yeah?
It did not. Yep, it's all me.
Mm. Okay, guys, I'm going to read this book because I wanna get this human touch and I need value. Thanks again, Robert. A big pleasure. Love it. Welcome back anytime to share more valuable insights. I will follow you. I will read your book. And guys, I recommend to anyone open links to in the description to the website, to the book, and keep learning and practice. Without practice, nothing works. Okay, guys, love you. See you.